travelled a lot in Iran and in fact all over India and the Far East for business. And I began to understand through that experience the universality of religion, and that had a huge impact on me and on the work of the IRF. And when I stopped work, I started working seriously in the Unitarian world, and eventually became the convener of the General Assembly of Unitarian and Free Christian Churches. So that's just a bit more about me, but I want to start, before we start, I want to offer a prayer, which was written by a man, I've forgotten his name, who written it, but he's a Unitarian minister. Oh God, who doesn't seem to answer our prayer, who leaves the hungry to starve, the poor to die, the oppressed to suffer, and the wars to rage. Why don't you answer if you are there at all? Or maybe that's the wrong question. Rather, why don't we, humanity, answer prayer? Why do we leave the hungry to starve when there is food enough to feed them and the means to grow more? Why do we leave the poor to die when there are resources enough to heal the sick, clothe the naked, shelter the houseless? Why do we leave the oppressed to suffer for want of liberation and wars to rage when we could stop them if the will for peace ruled our councils? O God, who can only answer human prayer with human hands, human courage and human caring, stir us to the love that feeds the hungry and heals the sick, strikes down oppression, frees the slaves. You are the will for peace and justice. You are the love that reaches out to us from others in our need. God of our innermost hearts, who calls us to seek you there, may we find you and become your loving presence in this suffering world. May it be so. The International Association for Religious Freedom is the world's first international interfaith organisation. It started life in 1900, at a time when I guess people didn't even know what interfaith was. And certainly if they did, they weren't prepared to sign up to the idea. But times have changed. Our members tend to be on the liberal side of religion. They are Unitarians, Universalists, the NPS. I'm going to get this wrong, aren't I? The NPSCI. That's right, isn't it? But they are also free church communities which exist throughout Europe, throughout North America. That's free Christian churches and free churches in a more general sense. In Japan, our members are Japanese Buddhists, the Shikokosakai, and a lot of Shinto shrines who are all independent from each other. We have Zoroastrians, we have Baha'is, all these people wanting to work together for the good of humanity. We are actually entitled, and we can use our places at the United Nations in Geneva and New York. A bit difficult to say what the impact of that is because it's soft politics, shall we say. But I'm going to give you 3 stories. I could tell you a lot of stories, but I'm going to give you 3 stories of the work that we do, or rather our members do, because we are the work of all our members. In the Holy Land, there's one of our members, the Interfaith Encounter Association, runs groups of Christians, Muslims and Jews. There are 125 groups throughout the Holy Land. These are people who come together to talk to each other. They don't talk about religion. They talk about everything else probably. I was privileged to, when I was in Jerusalem a year or so ago, I was privileged to go to one of their meetings where we were talking about dreams. And the objective really is so that these people become friends, not enemies. In total, about 4,000 people come to those meetings. And given what's going on at the moment, it seems to me that's a very, very small step, but important step to bringing peace back to the Middle East. When the Ukraine war first started, our friends in the Hungarian Unitarian Church, which is in Transylvania, actually, which is part of Romania. They're Hungarian because they're Hungarian speaking. They border on Ukraine. They spend a lot of time going into Ukraine, taking food and other things, and bringing Ukrainians out who stayed with them for at least for a while. There are still Ukrainians there today. I met some of them in September when I was over there. And that work was supported by higher members throughout the world. And the other third example I'd like to give is that in India, in the villages in India, which as you can imagine are pretty poor and no normal roads, cows walking everywhere, although strangely enough all the villages seem to have telephone masts, but that's another story. But children from the local school, we're talking 16, 17, 18-year-olds now, as part of their leadership training within schools, which we've been supporting, go out into the villages and teach the young children in the villages about computer science. They take a whole load of laptops with them, and every so often they'll go from village to village. That's part of the school's curriculum now. And when I was there a while ago, just before COVID actually, I ended up signing over 100 certificates of appreciation because it's great to have that on your CV. So, but one of the interesting things that's happened, I'm going to finish here, I promise. In India, in the villages in particular, the mothers are entitled to 2 babies that are supported by the state, so they have their children in hospital. The third and more, they don't get any help, and they have the children at home. Now that's bad enough in itself from a medical point of view, but one of the interesting parts about it is that when the children are born in hospital, their births are registered. When they're born at home, the births aren't registered. And so as a whole, all these children that are born at home do not exist in terms of Indian bureaucracy. They're not entitled to school, they're not entitled to any help as they grow up because they don't exist. So we've been doing a lot of work trying to get these children into the system. So these little jobs, these little bits of work, and they are only little bits of work. We're not going to change world politics, much as we might like to. But they mean a lot to the people who are affected by them. So that's just a sample of the work that we're involved in. And as I say, I could go on, but I think perhaps I should